Going live. Mic check 1, 2. Mic check. And I think we are good. Hey guys, you're watching Garage Goons, the most trash show on YouTube. And I think part of life is holding yourself accountable. And I was wrong. I was dead wrong. Yeah, we're talking about UFC 265. Lewis gone. That's all I'm going to talk about. Aldo looked like old Aldo. And, Torres kind of did her thing. Kind of looked a lot like what happened the first time. Yeah, man. Here's the thing. The power of Lewis is a blessing and a curse. And I know I look like a hot mess, guys. And you guys might notice, I'm looking at it on the screen. Sorry, I need to stop doing that. The background, right? We're classing up the joint. Okay, we're moving up in the world. I know you're still seeing the refrigerator over here, the hookah right here, some ambient light in the back. I think that's the dryer right here. So definitely still feels like a garage, but I don't know. I thought having this kind of drop down, I could definitely zoom the camera in at some point and make it look super official, but then you're not on the most trash show on YouTube anymore, are you? You're starting to look more and more like we take this stuff very seriously, and we don't. So here's the thing, guys. Lewis gone. Where do I start? Where does Derek Lewis start? Did he ever start that fight? I don't remember him starting. I remember thinking, okay, any minute now. Come on, Lewis. Any minute now. Where's that bomb coming from? And here's the blessing and the curse, guys, when it comes to, I don't know, having the touch of God in your hand is, you never feel like you're out of the fight, right? Like, all we remember from the Volkov fight is that Volkov got knocked the hell out, right? It was a brutal knockout. His head bounced on the canvas. Derek Lewis did a Dan Henderson almost against Michael Bisping, where he just put all of his weight drop down and dropped the bomb on his head and hit him a couple more times after that. And then whoever was reffing that fight, can't remember if it was Herb Dean or who, but pulled him off, right? That's all we remember. Let's rewind and think about that fight, though. Derek was getting his ass beat the entire time, guys. The entire time in the Volkov fight until he landed the big one. So it's the most frustrating kind of fighter to watch because what is he? He's all potential, right? We are now in the age in MMA where world-class athletes are finally going over to MMA. And it's especially rare when you get a world-class athlete in the heavyweight division. Because think about it. If you're 260, between 250 and 260, 6'5", 6'6", mostly muscle, really fast, agile, all the things that you need to be, to be a good, well-rounded mixed martial artist. Are you going to do mixed martial arts? Are you going to stop at the guy who says, hey, man, do you want to learn how to beat people up? And while you're learning, you're going to get your lumps along the way? Or, and before I even finish the conversation, you might say, well, I like fighting. Dudes like fighting. Some people like fighting. That's fine. What's the end game? Okay, cool. Yeah. What does the paycheck look like? Oh, well, early on, you don't really get paid much. Even if you get on the Indian casino circuit, you're going to, maybe if you're a big draw, you're the headliner of the card, you're going to get 5 racks for the fight. But after you pay your trainers, eventually if you get a manager and whatever else, you're basically scrapping for local endorsement deals and just trying to get to Bellator or the UFC. How does that sound? Oh, I don't like that. Well, tell me about the end game. What about Bellator and the UFC? Well, the really, really good guys get paid a small percentage of the pay-per-view, and somewhere between $300,000 and $700,000 a fight. Doesn't that sound good? Huh. 3 and 700,000. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. A lot of money. But then I got to pay for the trainers, got to pay for, my fight camp. That's not free. Okay, but I get to be on TV. I get to be famous. 3 to 500,000. Let me think about it. Then you go down the street to the basketball gym, and there's a coach. He sees you. You're 6'5". You're just shooting hoops, and he says, "Hey, man, you want to play for me? You want to play some basketball? You look good, strong, athletic. Probably can dunk, right? You're 6'5", whatever." You're thinking to yourself, okay, well, what does that look like? Well, you could go to college for free. If you're any good at the college level, girls are going to throw themselves at you. You're going to be a local celebrity. And if you're exceptional at the college level, you have a shot to get in the NBA. Okay, well, what does that look like? It seems like the odds are pretty low. Yeah, they're pretty low. Okay, but if I do make it, what? Well, minimum contracts, you're never going to get paid less than $1 million a year, and that's just for showing up to practice. Oh, wow. $1 million a year? And I don't have to pay a training staff, and I don't have to do fight camp, and I just get to show up and play ball? That sounds pretty good. What happens if I'm good? Well, the top players get paid around $40 million a year. And what's standard is they get 4-year contracts. And if you get maxed out, you could make, by the end of your career, $500 million if you play 10 years in the league. How does that sound? Who's taking the first deal? I don't have to extrapolate the numbers for you guys with football. It's closer to basketball. It's not quite as good as basketball, but it's closer. But you get the idea, right? Fighting, you have to literally have a deep-rooted desire for fighting. I think that's why so many kids that have the worst backgrounds get into combat sports, boxing and mixed martial arts. I mean, a lot of these guys have records. A lot of these guys come from the streets. A lot of these guys, have a troubled past, in and out of jail. Bernard Hopkins, man, one of my favorite boxers out there, learned how to box when he was locked up. They actually had boxing in jail back then, which is crazy to think, why would you let a guy get really good at beating people up if you're trying to civilize him and and prepare him for the outside world so he doesn't get in trouble and rehabilitate him, trying to get all of the violent tendencies that somebody in jail might have, right? We're going to teach him to box. Seems kind of counterintuitive. Whatever. I'm going off on a tangent here. I'm going to bring all the way back to Lewis. Okay. Lewis is not a world-class athlete. He could have been. I feel like Lewis is the type of guy where if he honed his skills, he doesn't look too different from a lot of D linemen in the NFL. I would imagine that he could probably be around 290 and lift like a lineman that weighs 290 and do some damage in the NFL. I would imagine that he could be like a chunky, small forward hybrid Zion Williams type guy in basketball, but he's not one of these guys where you see him in the octagon and go, wow. I cannot, this guy is a freak athlete, fast twitch muscles. You could tell he can jump out the gym. You could tell he's very fast. You could tell he's flexible. You could tell he could have at very least been a multi-sport player in high school and good at most of them, right? With his skill set, but he's not John Jones. John Jones is a perfect example. He's got 2 brothers. All three of the Joneses are professional athletes. 2 of his brothers are in the NFL, which tells you genetically, hey, you kind of hit the jackpot, bro. But he chose to go fighting. That is an example of fighting is starting to finally get world-class athletes. Well, in France, where Cyril Gane is from, basketball is pretty dang big. I think it's second to soccer, but soccer is king, guys. Soccer is king in France. Okay. If you are a really good basketball player, no matter where you're from, you go to the NBA. I mean, Tony Parker, for example, came from France, really good, goes to the NBA. Okay. So Surreal Gone isn't really built like a soccer player. I mean, maybe there's a big ass 245, 250 pound soccer player that can run like a gazelle and has good footwork and stuff. But the ones that I can think of, the best guys are like average size dudes, somewhere between like 5'7" and 6'2", lean, agile, good at shifting motion. So he didn't really have the basketball in France as apparent and as abundant as it is in the United States as an option for him. And they don't play football in Europe. I mean, I think there's a British league, but it's so like not what it is here. Football is uniquely crazy big here in the United States. Everywhere else, it's somewhere between nobody cares and like, nothing else is on. Let's just turn on the football game, see what these idiots are doing. They call it American football, right? Because we know we're the only people that call soccer, right? Everyone else calls it football, right? So Surreal Gone wasn't really built for that, right? So he's in a unique situation where he is, to me, looks like a world-class athlete, moves like a world-class athlete, but world-class athlete in his country doesn't translate over to the biggest sport in the country. So he found another path. Derek Lewis was working for, I think, like Budweiser or something, delivering, driving a truck. Or no, he was a tow truck driver, I think, right? And, that goes to show, hey, he didn't get an athletic scholarship to college. But he's probably the last guy at the local bar. Like Derek Lewis, his whole entire life, I would imagine, was the toughest dude in the room everywhere he went. Everyone just knew, don't mess with that guy. And I would also guess that he proved to people that you don't mess with him. A lot of guys are just big for no reason, and people don't mess with him because, he's big and scary. Once in a blue moon, you'll find a big and scary guy that actually knows how to fight, and that is freaking frightening, right? That's probably Derek Lewis, okay? But there's levels to this, guys. When you have the touch of God, the curse and the blessing that Derek Lewis has, I think it can become a crutch to some extent, right? Another athlete that comes to mind, who actually, in my opinion, is a world-class athlete, but just was late to the game, Deontay Wilder, right? If you've seen him punch, I challenge anybody to give me an example. Watch Mike Tyson's gnarliest knockouts. Pretty gnarly. And I'm not taking anything away from Mike Tyson because he did fight world-class talent, which it's questionable until, the past 2-3 years with Deontay, if he's truly fought world-class talent outside of, 3-4 fights. But I challenge anybody, find me a nastier, harder hitting, more ferocious, more frightening to watch power puncher than Deontay Wilder. Derek Lewis is cut from that cloth. The difference is Deontay Wilder, he comes in great shape. He looks like he improves every fight. Even when he loses, I notice him. He wasn't throwing a jab. The first 20 fights of his career, are you kidding me? All knockouts, he wasn't throwing no jab. He wasn't. His footwork was terrible. He wasn't moving around. He just came at you very long, 6'6", throwing bombs. And when that right hand lands, there's a reason why they call him the Bronze Bomber, baby. And let's not forget, I believe just before he turned pro, he got the bronze medal in the Olympics. And Deontay started in his early to mid 20s boxing. That's crazy. So a lot of that is genetics, right? A lot of that is natural talent, not skill. Skill is developed, talent you're born with. You need to unlock it. You can't just be fat and say, I'm talented, right? And just like not moving around. But we all know what that is. When there's a kid that's never picked up a basketball before, but, he starts playing ball and he can dunk and within a year he's balling out. That's talent. Ciryl Gane is a beautiful combination of skill and talent. He is a world-class athlete who chose fighting, who's big, who in our country that doesn't exist too much. Think about the heavyweight landscape. Name me a really good American fighter right now. Go ahead, I'll wait. In heavyweights, you got Stipe Miocic, right? Who I believe, I don't know if he's first generation or if he's naturalized American, but I think he's like Czech, right? Czechoslovakian or something like that. Somewhere from the Eastern Bloc, one of those countries that Russia owned at one point, right? Outside of that, it's slim pickings. We had to move John Jones up just to see some competition up there. Everybody else is foreign at heavyweight. Think about it. Ciryl Gane, France. Ngannou, African. I don't remember what country. Oh, excuse me. I should have checked into that. Congo? I don't know. Who else we got? Volkov, Russian, right? Russian. You got that new, can't remember his name, the British kid. Looks real good. For a long time, man. Since Brock Lesnar, the heavyweight division has been dominated primarily, like the top 5. I mean, you have Daniel Cormier. He's American, comes from a wrestling background. That's the loophole, guys. Wrestling. That's the one sport America appreciates. And if you're a heavyweight and you're not done with wrestling and you're done with college, that's kind of one of your last avenues to go. Because professional wrestling, WWE style, is nothing like collegiate wrestling. Okay? So that is the loophole. Stipe is no exception. DC is no exception. Cain Velasquez is no exception. Okay? So, but as of right now, the current standing in the heavyweight division dominated by Europeans and just foreigners in general. Why do I bring this up? Who cares? Well, Derek Lewis has definitely improved, but I don't think that Derek Lewis has been forced to develop skills the way people from these other countries have, the way people that they don't have other options. This is the life they chose. So they're all in on it, man. And that maybe not all of them have the touch of God. I would argue Ciryl Gane, listen, anybody over 240 who's 6'5" can knock people out, right? We're not having that discussion. But as far as the landscape of the heavyweight division goes, are we going to say he's a one-hitter quitter type guy? No, I haven't seen him starch anybody the way I've seen Overeem starch people, the way I've seen Derek Lewis starch people, the way I've seen Ngannou starch people. Okay, so if we're giving him a grade on power relative to the division, B plus, B. If Ngannou and Lewis are A plus, right? That's like the cream of the crop as far as one hitter quitter power. What is Cyril's like a B, right? Volkov's probably a B. Rosenstrike's probably A plus as well. He's up there. Walt Harris is probably A minus, right? I mean, the bottom line is, physics takes over. All these guys can knock each other out if they land it perfectly, but like Derek Lewis doesn't have to land a punch perfectly to knock you out. Neither does Ngannou. They can graze you or hit you on the top of your head or hit you on your forehead and not your temple or behind the ear or in your chin, and you still might go night-night. You probably will go night-night. So Derek Lewis, I feel, and I was wrong, guys. I said Derek Lewis would win the fight in the end, but would get his butt kicked the whole way through. He would be losing the fight until he didn't, right? He would be losing the fight until he won it. That almighty right hand, chef's kiss, right? Kills people, man. That hand kills people. And there's examples of guys that are freaks like him. He is an all-world power guy. Not an all-world athlete, the way Cyril Gane is, the way John Jones is, the way it looks right now, Francis Ngannou is. These guys are still. These guys have crazy raw talent, and they've combined it with skill over the years. All of them to different varying levels. I think Derek Lewis rested on his laurels and thought, well, when worst comes to worst, when the shit hits the fan, I'll just knock him out. Granted, guys, I underestimated Cyril Gane's ability to create space. And I also didn't think Derek Lewis was going to respect Cyril Gane's power enough for him to freeze up the way he did. Man, what was he doing? He threw like 2-3 punches around every round until he got obliterated there. Never checked a kick. He was getting his legs kicked out from under him. And there was a couple of times where he would break out of a clinch against the fence. He'd be in close and he'd swing wild. And I was praying and hoping, because I'm Team America, guys, above all else, that he would land. And the fight, like we've seen so many times before. What's the book on Derek Lewis? Used to be, take the guy down, right? Take him down. He doesn't know how to get back up. He starts learning how to sprawl. He starts learning how to get back up. Then the book on him was stay at range, take him down if you can, press him up against the cage, kind of like try to survive him, and you will outpoint him. He's not a points guy. Derek Lewis is never going to outpoint a guy. I've seen it one time with Francis Ngannou where they danced around it and just looked at each other the whole fight, and Derek Lewis won because of the two guys. He would throw an occasional leg kick. Terrible fight. That was the only time I really saw Derek Lewis that inactive, because Derek Lewis is a killer, man. He's normally okay with exchanging with guys knowing that they're the more skilled fighter, because all he needs to do is land one. This train don't stop, guys. You got to keep getting better. You got to keep getting better. You can't be satisfied with, I'm the hardest hitter, I'm the scariest guy. Some guys are not going to be. Some guys don't have the luxury of being intimidated. Some guys have to go in there and they know if they get cut, their family doesn't get food. Some guys are going to say, hey, I have gnarly training partners. Keep in mind, Gane trained with Francis. So there's a history there. If somebody hits harder than Derek Lewis in the UFC, which I don't know, it's Francis, right? It's Ngannou. And and Gane trained with him already. So you think he's going to be scared of this guy? I thought he would have more respect for his power, but I also thought he would show the respect for his power by being less active and being very selective with his shots, which has worked in the past for Lewis, because that's what Volkov did when guys respect it too much, when they're only throwing really long stuff and they're running away a lot. Derek Lewis isn't a dummy. He's actually really, really smart, intelligent fighter, because to his credit, he knows he's more or less a one-trick pony, if we're being honest. He knocks guys out with his right hand. That's what we know about him. And he knows that about himself too. So he looks for openings. He looks for, okay, this guy is staying long. He's fighting scared. He's coming in. He's committing to punches. He's trying to win rounds. He's trying to outpoint me. I'm going to play possum. I'm going to be less active. But man, when he comes in and he gets a little tired, he gets a little cocky, he gets a little overcommitted to a punch, I'm going to land this bomb. And it's night time. Cyril respected his power by saying, I'm a world-class kickboxer, Muay Thai fighter. That's my background. This guy is not an all-American wrestler by any means. All I'm going to do is stay very long and active. Lewis thrives when he sees gaps. When he gets confidence when he sees guys slowing down. He gets confidence when he sees guys overcommitting later in the fight because they get sloppy. They land so much on him and they're like, you know what? I can just land whenever I want on this guys. They get cocky. And that's the moment, lights out. Derek Lewis lands a punch. That moment never came. Ciryl Gane has probably the best cardio in the division. I haven't seen him look tired once. He fights a very efficient style. And watching that fight last night, I thought, man, he's not throwing a lot. He's just kind of like outpointing him in rounds. But I saw the strike count at the end of the fight, which didn't even go the distance. Actually very active, man. It just didn't look like much because it's a leg kick here. It's a double jab there. It's feints. It's a shot to the gut. It's a couple of elbows up against the cage, and he breaks out. But the thing is, he was dictating the fight. He did something that I didn't think he would do. Is he took the center of the octagon and he controlled the pace, and it wasn't a relentless pace, but it was so active it was so calculated and active to a point to where that gap, that tiring, that overcommitment that Derek Lewis looks for in his opponents never came. Never came. So in turn, that punch never came. That confidence that he gains almost every fight when he sees something, when he sees the guy trying to land power shots. Ciryl Gane didn't land power shots the whole fight until the end when he saw he was hurt. Ciryl Gane was very conservative with his energy. He was very calculated with the pace, and he's a master of distance. In hot take right now, I think Ciryl Gane beats Ngannou for the championship fight. I'm terrible at calling fights. Shout out to my boy Hager. He knows I'm super into UFC. Started getting into betting. He moved to Colorado. They have sports gambling there in that state, and I steered him wrong almost every single time. Walt Harris versus Overeem. Harris knocks Overeem on his ass. Overeem comes back and beats Walt Harris. Wrong there. Like that's the fight that comes to mind right now. I don't know why. Maybe because we're talking heavyweights. But man, Ciryl's very good. Very good. And I thought it was too early for him. I'm not going to lie. I thought he had one test with Volkov. I thought styles make fights, and I thought he was more athletic than Volkov. They're both strikers. Volkov has length, but I had the slight power advantage to Ciryl Gane, and Ciryl Gane is less far removed from traditional kickboxing, which is a huge advantage. You know, when you know the guy you're fighting is not necessarily known for taking dudes down and, you know, American style or Sambo style or any other style wrestling. So I didn't think that was a good litmus test for him. Meanwhile, I've seen Derek Lewis sleep some of the nastiest dudes in the division. You know, at least fringe top 5 guys, top 10 guys. Ciryl Gane's got 10 fights now as a pro in MMA, something like that. So moral of the story is, I think Derek Lewis needs to go back to the drawing board. Know that you have the power, but don't let it be your crutch, man. You can always improve in this game. The second your ideology goes from, well, this is what I'm working with, and I'm just going to make it work, to, you know, when it goes to that, instead of, I need to make improvements every day. I need to fight every day. I need to bring in different looks, different training partners. I need my coaches to tell me holes in my game. I need to know what to drill. I need to know what to eat. I need dietitians here. Derek Lewis is in that. Listen, he's number 3 ranked heavyweight in the world. No excuses at this point, man. You've headlined cards before, man. You make enough money to make these moves. And I love you for being charismatic, saying the funniest shit all the time. A local H-Town hero. Like, we all love that. You're the American. Man, when you said this stuff, Trump called me and said, we need to knock this Russian fool out. I was dying. My balls is hot. I was dying. What else? He said he needs to make a doo doo or whatever he said. I need the boo boo. That's why when I got kicked in the stomach that one time, I kind of slowed down a little bit. I was just trying not to poop myself. Like those are moments that are hilarious. And the whole Ronda Rousey thing early on that he had going on where he was trying to date her, that was freaking hilarious, man. I loved that. I loved all of it. I just think now we're at a point, guys, where, he needs to, I don't think he's out of it, right? Like his hit list is impressive. Let's not forget, he did on paper beat Francis in the most boring fight ever, granted, but it was a win nonetheless. That's the current heavyweight champ. It's capable. He's possible of doing these things, but we just need to see a guy that's not going to be afraid to come forward and only rely on the big counter punch in a wild exchange or in a counter. Sometimes you need to be the aggressor, Derek. And I love you. You're my favorite fighter, man. You're on that list. You, Nate Diaz, there's a couple other guys that come to mind. You're my guy, though. I just feel like you could do better. You could have done better last night. I think if you hurt Gone early, his game plan might have changed. I think you need to get aggressive early. I thought you were going to take the center of the octagon. Never happened, man. You were just waiting for that one punch that never came, all the while taking leg kicks and jabs and all kinds of really clean, really crisp kickboxing the whole match. And he dictated range. He was in and out. You were heavy on your feet. You were stomping around. I've seen you be light on your feet, Derek. I know you want to plant and throw the bomb. I know. But some guys aren't going to stand there and stick their chin out. And they're smart for not doing that against you because you're one of the few guys that if you land any kind of way, it's going to be devastating. So I think he can rebound. I think it kind of just depends on what he wants to do, man. If he just wants to be a Nate Diaz kind of guy where he's got a fan base, he's got a town that loves him, he's got a cult following, he's already got all those things, he already knows how to market himself. He could just be the big money fight guy, right? And sometimes those guys get to step in and fight for belts when guys get hurt or injured or whatever, just because they know they'll be able to sell the tickets in the pay-per-view still. So he could do that. I just think he needs to take this serious. Take this more seriously than he has. There's been interviews in the past where he said, I train, for an hour a day, 3 times a week. Not good enough, man. This is your livelihood. This is your livelihood, man. Not good enough. Other guys are in the gym every day. Surreal's probably in the gym every day. Something to think about. Quick update. We are going to have Nick Schmidt on the podcast. We don't do audio yet. It's only visual, and I'm still going live because I don't know what I'm doing here. He's going to be on the show. I know I promised you guys Jamie Kaufman, photographer, metal shows, also shoots Jay Theo, punk shows. He's a musical photographer guy. But he wasn't feeling too hot. So with everything going on, I can't take any chances with guys feeling sick and guys just not feeling good. I don't know what that is. It's different for everyone right now, but it's more risky nowadays than ever. So he'll be here Tuesday. That's what he says. So, Garage Goons, the most trash show on YouTube. Nick Schmidt's coming. And on Tuesday, Jamie Kaufman. And guys, also too, end of August, like somewhere in the last week, whatever. Maybe early September, right before NFL season starts, we're going to do a fantasy football breakdown. I'm going to have a special guest in here. Our relationship for the most part now is we just talk shit online on Facebook to each other. We used to work together. He's he told me like a 3-time league winner or something like that in his little friend group league. I am an all-time never finish better than third place kind of guy. So it's going to be interesting. and it's going to be good back and forth. And I'm probably going to have worse takes than he does because obviously the proof is in the pudding, and I'm trash at fantasy football, but I enjoy it nonetheless and play it for too much money every single year, guys. Garage Goons, most trash show on YouTube. Thank you for watching, and I think that's going to do it. I think we're going to be out right now. Appreciate you. Follow what we got going on, man. More stuff down the pipeline. Find me, ya boy Tyler, 118 on Instagram, and Tyler Edwards on Facebook, and we're gonna make a Garage Goons Instagram once I get merch, and I'm working on that right now, and I already have the website being made as we speak. All right, we out.